Welcome to Not Entirely Unlike Tea with Christine Collins. Hey there, it's Christine Collins, and I've got a really fun one for us today. A lot of times people have a lot of curiosity around hypnosis and how much and to what extent it has an effect on them, and whether or not it has an influence over things like free will and decision making. Now, I remember when I first became a student of hypnosis. First of all, I was very skeptical, and I did not necessarily know if I even believed that something like this could actually work or have any kind of an impact. So I came at it from that approach. But lots of people who have heard various different things, misinformation and maybe pieces of information that have been warped or twisted around over the years, have developed a certain opinion or understanding of what they think it can and cannot do. So I think we have a group of people who probably think it's totally bunk, totally made up, totally doesn't do anything, and then another group of people who tend to be very worried about it, afraid that it's going to make them do things that they don't actually want to do or have a bigger influence over them than what they wish. Now, the reality is that neither one of those polar opposites are actually the full truth. So let's just start with the first one, which is, does it even work at all? And the skepticism that even I shared when I first heard about it or knew of it. What is the actual situation around who can't be hypnotized, whether it has any impact? So starting off with people who struggle to or cannot be hypnotized, there are so many variables that impact this that I hesitate to even put this out there. A lot of it does depend on the person's mindset at the time, the desire that they have for it to work, how much they trust the practitioner, and how much they feel like they can be in a safe and quiet space during the process of hypnosis. Now, that said, somewhere around 10% of people really struggle to be hypnotized or can't be hypnotized. If they really feel safe, they've made a choice that this is something they really want, and there's a level of trust and comfort with the setting that they're receiving the service in, then they may have a better likelihood of success. And on the other end of that spectrum, there's 10% of people who are highly hypnotizable or highly suggestible, just about everybody else, which is the majority of the population, in a range. Things that can make it more difficult for hypnosis to work: lack of trust or a lack of desire to actually have it work. So someone who's just agreed to change a behavior because their family really wants them to, it's a lot less likely to actually be successful. There also does need to be some amount of ability to block out external distractions, space that's safe, comfortable, and where you can be focused. And if there is a high level of anxiety or fear, so that mentions the other category, they're not quite sure if they trust the process, that skepticism and cynicism can also assess of the ability of the hypnosis to help them. If they absolutely believe that it's bunk and that it can't work, low expectancy or motivation, that makes it more challenging too. Or being impaired in some way could have an influence over the success as well. Now, for those who are highly skeptical, that's perfectly fine. As I said, that is definitely the starting point on the spectrum where I first began with hypnosis, because my early experience or hearing about it was only ever really centered around things like stage hypnosis, where you go to some kind of like a live event show and there's a hypnotist on a stage doing things with the audience that are mostly intended for entertainment. And the reality is that actual hypnotherapy is very, very different. It has an intention and a purpose, and it requires a relationship and a safe space between the hypnotherapist and the client. And it is set out to achieve a specific goal that that client has. So they're wanting to change something. Perhaps they want to change a behavior. Perhaps they're unsatisfied with the outcomes that they're getting in their business or some other project or pursuit. They have a certain goal in mind: health related, relationship related, family related, business or finance related, creativity or design related. There are so many different areas that hypnosis is really useful for. And using it in a therapeutic sense is very different than the concept that I started out with, thinking that it was kind of like a show. In other episodes, I go into much more detail around some of the benefits of hypnosis and the ways in which you can really tap into it and utilize it for your performance, for your creativity, for your success and your goal achievement. So the main thing I'll just say here in terms of skepticism is that there is quite a bit of research around the benefit of tools like hypnosis, like yoga nidra, like meditation, where you are going basically into a different brainwave. It is a deeper, more relaxed brainwave that will have multiple benefits and value to you in terms of your health, in terms of your nervous system, in terms of your mood, and helping with things like anxiety and depression, overall vibration, as well as opening up really beautiful avenues for creativity, generating innovative ideas, solving problems. We're much, much better problem solvers when we're in a state of relaxation versus a state of stress. And so there are lots of reasons why it's beneficial. And there are also lots of pieces of information out there that demonstrate how useful it is. Now, on the side for the people who are nervous about it, worried about it, or wondering if, like the stage hypnotist, it can make you cluck like a chicken or do some silly behavior, or I think what probably more people get concerned over is, can it make me do something I don't want to do, such as purchase a product or buy something, or manipulate me in some way to do something that I would not normally otherwise do. And the truth about hypnosis is that while it is very powerful in the sense that it can help to facilitate tremendous change if the person desires to make those changes, at the same time, I do think that it has been overhyped in terms of what it can actually do. Sometimes in our eagerness to talk about how magical this tool can be, we might make it sound as though it really is magical and that you really can kind of brainwash someone or change someone's mind. But that's really not actually how it works. So I wanted to pull it apart for you and show you the internal mechanics a little bit more descriptively, because that takes away a lot of the mysticism. And I think that's the right word for how I see it often regarded, is as if it's a mystical, magical tool. And I know I use that word a lot because it feels like magic. But the reality of it is, it's just utilizing your very own existing neuroscience, the mechanisms of your brain, and the way that your brain learns new things. So when you learn a new language, when you learn a new skill, when you learned how to tie your shoes, when you learned how to walk, when you learned how to do various different things throughout your life, new neural pathways were built in order to facilitate that new skill and that new learning. And one of the things that we're beginning to understand more and more as time goes on and there's more research is that neuroplasticity exists even as adults. We can change our minds. Sometimes we think about ourselves once we hit a certain age as being mostly developed and that our personalities are in some ways solidified. We think of ourselves as a collection of beliefs and thinking patterns and habits and traits and behaviors. And while those things are true, they are far less static and far more dynamic than we necessarily recognize. By dynamic, I mean that they can be changed. You're not stuck with the way that you think right now, the way that you feel right now, or the things that you are doing right now. You're not stuck with those things forever. it is possible for those things to change, obviously depending on many variables. So I'm definitely not here to suggest that all you do is just a little hypnosis and then everything that's hard is going to be better. But it will make an improvement, and it can make an improvement in your mindset in terms of the way you look at things. And when the way you look at things changes, you tend to behave differently. And when you tend to behave differently, the things in the world around you will change around that. So as much as it can seem magical, it really is a very practical, tangible process. The part about it that probably feels the most magical is that you don't have to sit down and manually, verbally, consciously sort through all of the beliefs and all of the ideas and all of the problems and the challenges and talk through all of it. Or like if there's past issues and trauma and challenges, you don't have to sit there and discuss it. You can, but the hypnosis does something at a deeper level. So here's how it works. Essentially, a trained hypnotherapist will begin a hypnosis session once you've discussed your goals, or there is some type of agreed upon goal in terms of the purpose of the hypnosis. The induction process is the first layer, which is them leading you gently down into those deeper brainwaves. And all that really looks like is a visualization, some guided imagery, some things that are done in very particular ways, skillfully, in order to help your mind to relax. And with that relaxation comes a change in the brainwave. Now we have brainwaves where we're fully asleep or fully alert, and then there are some in between, like the alpha and the theta, which tend to be the ones that we access in hypnosis. And what happens in those more deeply relaxed states is that you access some features of your brain that increase your ability to think of new things, to be more suggestible, which just means you're more open. So whereas in some moments of your life, let's say where you're under a high amount of stress and someone comes along and says, let's do this differently, usually under high stress where you're highly alert, you're going to be more likely to be like, no, we're good. We're just going to keep it exactly the way that it is. When you're more relaxed and that sort of watchful guard dog part of your mind is at rest, you're more open. You're more interested in new ideas. Kind of like, when you're traveling or you're on vacation and you're in this kind of vacation mode and someone comes along and introduces a new food, you're much more likely to try that new food because you're in that deeper state of relaxation and you're more open. And that openness creates an opportunity for you and your hypnotherapist to establish some things that are going to support your goal. So if you've mostly gone through life believing that you're not the type of person who can do something like be wealthy, run a business, start a business, speak publicly, work with people one-on-one or in a group setting like you've held on to for a very long time, they can become a little bit more pliable. Again, just mentioning that this is supposed to be in relation to something that you desire. I'm ready to think about things differently because the way I've been looking at it is not working for me anymore. I'm not having the relationships I want, the health I want, the life experience that I want. I want to do something differently. Hypnosis can be an incredibly valuable asset in your corner. Say you've made a decision to have a higher income. You've made a decision to work with more clients or to do more writing. You've made a decision that you would like to work out more frequently. Whatever those decisions are, hypnosis is more like a tool that supports you. So hypnosis is not about someone else coming in with their suggestions or their belief system. It's about them helping you to facilitate what you want to have. It's your choice to move closer towards that thing, and then as a tool can help you to get there faster and more easily by telling a story or using language that will appeal to your subconscious mind. If we think about the language of our dreams, for example, when we have dreams, Even if there's a topic that we recognize, a lot of times there's something symbolic that's happening in the dreams, and they don't make sense purely as a logical interpretation. That dreamlike state and that symbolism, language of the subconscious. And your hypnotherapist who understands how to craft language in a way that can reach a deeper level has created a script based around your goal to help your subconscious to move closer towards the direction of the goal. So it may involve making statements or suggestions and saying it, stating it, suggesting it at the deeper level, the storytelling version of you, that deeper dreamlike symbology level. So in this state, there's reduced activity in areas that are hyper-skeptical to allow for this new information to come in. Reduced activity can be seen in areas like the anterior cingulate cortex and the prefrontal cortex to become more open and suggestible to these new ideas. Also, changes in areas related to things like attention, perception, and the ability to process suggestions that are related to experiences. And those brain waves, the alpha brainwave is associated with a decrease in anxiety and with relaxation. And the theta wave is linked to being more of an inward focus and becoming more open. We also get kind of a little vacation as we're having this journey within. And that can make it feel like a very deeply restorative experience, one that many people emerge from and describe feeling refreshed and having kind of a renewed vigor to get into the rest of their day. And of course, there are lots of other benefits between the anxiety reduction. It can be useful in various different medical issues, which I won't get into in any depth, and even pain management. So through this entire process, you are conscious and you are awake. It is possible to fall asleep during hypnosis, which is not a problem as long as you are somewhere safe where it's fine for you to close your eyes and have that happen. So I always like to say, make sure you're in a safe environment. You don't have candles lit, stove burning. You're certainly not doing anything like driving a car. You do need to be able to get deeply relaxed safely. You're able to have a consensual decision to go into that deeper state, and you have the capacity to fully reject anything that is said that you don't like or don't agree with. Hypnosis does not have the ability to take away your free will or your decision-making capacity. And if something is hitting you at a level that you feel uncomfortable with, you're going to wake right up and therefore not be in that suggestible state. Now, there is a count out that happens at the end, and the purpose of that is to bring you back into full awareness to go back into the rest of your day. If, as it happens in some cases, the person does just fully fall asleep, like they're listening before bed or something like that, the act of sleeping and then waking up again is kind of like a reset for them, so they haven't missed anything if that happens. Now, of course, I like to provide hypnosis in an audio format so that you have the ability to listen to it over and over. And one of the reasons of many is because in building those new neural pathways, the brain loves repetition and loves being able to get that regular reinforcement of the new beliefs that we're building in. There's also the benefit of ensuring that you can be in a safe and relaxing space by doing it on your own at home in a space that feels safe and comfortable for you, where you're not having to travel before or after, where you're not having to sit at a desk or computer. You can be reclined on a couch or a bed or a chair, and you can be in a space where you feel safe and relaxed. So to answer the question, can hypnosis make you cluck like a chicken? The real question is, do you have a goal to cluck like a chicken? And if the answer to that is no, then the answer to the first question is also no. Hypnosis cannot take away your free will, cannot make you behave in a way that feels unethical or inappropriate for you, or cause you to think or feel or behave in a way that does not align with the goal that you came there for. Because in the end, hypnosis does require consent from the participant in order for it to work. It does require that you are open to it as a modality, that you have enough trust with the process and with the hypnotherapist to allow yourself to get deeply relaxed. And if you don't, you're not going to get deeply relaxed. And if that doesn't happen, then there's no hypnosis. And the final thing to say about that tendency to feel, a little bit of mistrust or this mysticism that we have around hypnosis. I sometimes hear people talk about hypnosis happening, for example, when someone is delivering a speech. And while there are some moments, and they are few and far between, where I'm observing, perhaps a public figure or something like that, and I notice little hints of things that do feel like there's some hypnosis that they've at least looked into. For the most part, the vast majority of what you are actually witnessing is persuasion. And there are very specific skill sets in terms of language that are designed to be persuasive, that are designed to get people's mind to repetitively think about a topic or a phrase or a comment. And while I certainly understand the link that people draw there with hypnosis, it is a bit different. And the process of hypnosis requires the different stages that I talked through. And those stages are far more effective when a person is 1, consensual with it, 2, relaxed, lying down, eyes closed, like open and ready to get into the process. And number 3, has that level of both desire for the goal and trust with the process in order for the process to work. So I don't want to minimize the impact that a really good public speaker can have or a really savvy marketing strategist can have. But I do think it's important that we talk about what hypnosis is and what hypnosis really isn't, because a lot of that mentality is what contributes to the mistrust. And as a result, people who would really benefit from a safe therapeutic relationship with hypnosis are instead missing out on a tool that would actually really, really help and benefit them and be able to get them closer to their goals. So I hope you have found this to be fun and helpful and enlightening. And until we connect the next time, I wish you a most magical and creative rest of your day. Thanks for listening. This is Christine Collins at transformcreate.com.